So I'm working on an 88 Jeep YJ with not too bad, but a few holes, and rust damage in the tub of the Jeep. I've finished two. If you want to look back, you can see the videos I made on those. But each and every one of these seems to present its own little problems and difficulties and things like that. So I'm actually doing a little video on each one that I do. Hopefully it helps somebody out here, there, anywhere. Anyway, I'll show you this next one, and if sounds like something that's interesting to you, stick around. Now this here's at the back passenger corner of the Jeep. Obviously this rust damage is right through, but just by tapping around it, I'm really hoping that there's not a whole lot of damage there. The only problem is I'm not sure on accessibility. It's one of them things. It can be kind of like drinking out of a spittoon. Once you start, you can't stop. So anyway, we're gonna get digging into this and see what we find. Now, the first thing I done, just in an effort to give myself a little more access to it, I hacked this off. It's just a loop like that that's at the back of the Jeep. I guess that's their idea of a bumper. I don't know. Anyway, this one was bent all to hell and needed to be replaced. And I gotta tell you, to get to the nuts in behind there is a severe pain in the ass. And I had no interest in doing it since I knew I was going to have to replace it anyway. So I lopped her off there and just gave myself a little bit of room. Now what I'm going to do is just gently start grinding and inspecting and figuring out what all's good, what all's bad, and what all I got here. I'm hoping to see, I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of rust swelling right here too. So you know what, even if I just have to replace it to this seam and maybe over to here or something, I'd like to keep it as small as possible, and I would like to keep it in the flat if I possibly can. But you know what, we'll see what we come up with, and wish me luck. Now, as always, a person finds more than you think you're gonna. There's definitely some swelling down here, but I kind of knew that. And this here, curious as to what I'm going to find, because I really don't know what's behind there. This shouldn't be a big deal. I think we'll just cut her all out. I think it should be pretty good. But again, like I said, I really want to save this seam if I can. So I'm going to try and cut just sort of inside of it here and see what that gets me. But again, like I say, I'll just hack and slash and gently hack and slash and see what I come up with. Now, every one of these that I do, I'm learning. And something that has become obvious to me is when a guy's taking these patches, the bad metal out, you can do a lot of unintended damage, like along the edges here when you're prying and whatnot. Now, I know this is going to have to come out further. I can see that now. But that's one big thing, B. I know this doesn't look like I'm being careful, but I am attempting to be extra careful in how I'm doing this. And trying to preserve as much as I can to make sure that I got something good in the back there. It may not look like it from these images, but I do kind of think that the stuff in behind is maybe going to be okay, and I should be able to just clean up, get rid of the rust as good as possible, treat it all on the inside, and just fix the outer skin. But I guess honestly I thought that last time too, so we'll see. Stick around, I'll take you along with me. Slowly chipping away at this. I decided not to drill out my spot welds this time, just to screw around and try something different. Now, what I'm seeing is this metal is nice, heavy duty stuff in back here, because like right here is a body mount, So that makes me really happy. Everything seems structurally solid back there, and I just got to cut back to right about here, and I'm into free space basically. So it'll make it a whole heck of a lot easier to get in there and make sure everything's good, make sure everything's good in behind. I don't know if you've ever watched any of my other videos, but one of the things is I'm really keen to ensure everything is really good when I'm done. I don't want any half-assery or anything like that. I mean, my family's going to be enjoying this vehicle when I'm done, and that's one thing you can count on. She's going to be top notch when we're done. Now, just to show you how I'm doing this, like when these panels are so closely sandwiched together, it's a real trick to cut the outside layer without cutting anything in behind. Now, you can always weld the stuff in the back if you have to, but if you don't have to, it saves you a whole lot of time if you're able to just score it like this. And what I'll do is once all the spot welds and whatnot are of this little piece, I should be able to just bend it a couple times, and it should basically rip right along that seam. Of course, this isn't going to work like I thought it was gonna, but oh, here we go. Couple of spot welds to get rid of, and we'll come right back. So now after cleaning that up, I would venture a guess that right there is going to be my spot weld. Yeah, right here, if I drill that there, and maybe possibly right there, I'll be able to yoink this out of there, and it'll basically tear right along that seam. Let's see what we can do with this. Well, there, that didn't go nearly as smoothly as I had anticipated, because there's this one little wee bit of spot weld that was just hanging on for dear life. Which, I mean, good for him. He was doing his job and whatnot. But anyway, I guess the point I was trying to make is that what you can see here, if I can move my camera into the right spot, I was able to cut the outer skin without really touching the metal in behind it all. So that's pretty sweet. That's as now I don't have any really repair work to do back there. And if you can see, there's very little. All we got to do is clean that up, rust treat it, and put the cover back over it. That should be good. We may have a little thin spot down here, but that's okay. That'll be an easy repair if we decide to do something with that, which I guess we better do. So that is looking really good. Basically, this seam here, all it was just overlapped, and so that'll be really easy to redo and make it look just like factory. These, I was experimenting, and my experiment failed. Instead of cutting my spot welds with the cutter like I did here, I just screwed around and I did it with a chisel. And I don't know, thinking that was going to be better or what. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but anyway, it was not better. And now I've just got these little, they're not even really rust holes, they're tears. And I'll just touch them up and fill them in with the welder and weld them flat so they don't interfere with the piece going along the outside, because this outer skin is basically this outer skin with a little 90-degree angle on the bottom. That's all I'm gonna have to do to make this patch. This is gonna be a real nice quick one. So I got this cut out pretty close to what I'm gonna need. I'm clamping it to my little I-beam here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use a hammer and I'm gonna bend the lip on this side. And this is still rough cut. I'll pretty it up when I'm after I've got it bent, because I want to make sure that it's not short or anything like that. I'd far rather cut it afterwards and be sure than cut it ahead of time and be doing it again, which I've done a few times. So I got a little bit ahead of myself, but I filled in all those holes and doped it up with my cheap ass rust paint. So as soon as that dries, I'll just clean it off the edges there, and we'll take to fitting that patch and start tacking this thing in. The nice thing is with this side, all it's going to really end up getting is like 3 plug welds and just a smear of body dope in there, and she'll be good to go. So realistically, I only have to weld this side, and I only have to weld this side, and then just this little bit at the bottom. So it's really nice. I'm not gonna have to screw around. I was hoping that I wasn't gonna have to worry about access from the bottom and all this kind of stuff, because this basically, this is frame. This is like the rear cross member of the frame here. So yeah, this turned out real good. Real happy with this. Well, that's gonna work. But I tell you, I did a pretty crummy job of that top right corner. Guess I'm gonna have to figure something to use as a filler rod right there. Maybe I better go get me a chunk of coat hanger or something like that. Damn it, that's just extra work. Oh well. So I've never done this filling in a gap with a coat hanger like that before. 2 things I should have done. I should have removed the coating from the coat hanger, and I should have, at least off the bat, I should have known to weld basically 1 tack above and 1 tack below, rather than trying to melt the whole entire thing together. It's the only really way that it works, and it works real well. But you just melt one, or you tack 1 above, tack 1 below, and you just make it all into one piece. The rod that I used is actually quite a bit thicker than the sheet metal, believe it or not. But you know what? It's gonna work out just fine. I gotta calm down, take a break, not put too friggin' much heat into it, like I sometimes do. On that one, I got into a little bit of a hole that I had to clear, had to fill up there. But that too, that's going to grind down just fine. Should be no big deal at all. Weld it up, grind it up, and I got to respot a couple bits in, but that's okay. It's looking actually not too bad. It's not the smoothest patch I've made so far. Looking good now. Just give her a little dose of primer, and I'm going to call that one done. It will require a little bit of body work like all of them, but that's okay. Well, with less and less holes and more solid metal on this thing, starting to feel pretty good about the possibility that we might be able to have something to splash some paint on pretty soon here. These are looking really good. I'm pretty happy with the way things are turning out. I'm getting kind of sick of doing this, and I don't have a real tight timeline on this job. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a break from this and
start doing some work to prepare my duster for spring and for Mopar in season. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you got something out of that. That was a pretty simple, easy patch. Of all of them, that one ended up being less than I anticipated, where the other ones have both ended up being more than I anticipated once I got digging in there. So appreciate you watching.